This can also be done from the feet in a squatting tuck position. The back entry from the pike position is practiced with the same exercise in open pike position. A more advanced diver can also use the backward and reverse dives in open pike to perfect the pike lineup. The back and reverse tuck dives demonstrated previously are also great entry drills. Once the method of entry for the basic dives is learned, the two methods of come out for the backward and reverse optionals should be practiced. The first method is the straight come out, and as in the forward and inward optionals, the arms and legs are extended directly to a straight line, with the hands grabbing for the entry as they pass above head level, and the head moving from the tuck or pike position to a neutral alignment for the entry. This technique is used when there is little time left at the end of the dive to prepare for the entry. The back and reverse dives tuck are excellent drills for learning this come-out method, as shown here. The second come-out method is the grab and stretch technique, in which the diver opens the body with the upper body in a concave shape and the head held slightly forward looking toward the feet as the hands grab in the entry position somewhere between the chest and lower abdominal area. The body then completes its opening to a straight line as the head moves to a neutral position and the arms stretch up the midline of the body to the entry. As a preliminary step to using this come-out from the tuck and pike positions, the feeling of grabbing the hands first and then stretching can be achieved by standing backwards on the board with the hands already in the grab position. Then take a small spring and do a back dive straight, holding the grab until the dive has rotated to the stretching position. The back and reverse dives tuck again provide excellent opportunities to practice the grab and stretch come-out technique. This skill can also be done while performing a backward dive pike. After the reach and jump from the board, just before touching the toes would occur, the hands are brought to the abdominal area and grabbed in preparation for the entry. Then the opening and stretch for the lineup is executed. The same technique is used for practicing the reverse grab and stretch lineup. Throughout the learning of these entry techniques and the drills for practicing them, the beginning diver should stretch to the bottom of the pool so that body alignment and tightness during the entry are learned. Also, the diver must develop a keen sense of vertical alignment and control of the entry path. With good control of the body line, angle of entry, and entry path as a foundation, the diver can now begin to change body shape and maneuver underwater to achieve a more consistent entry with less splash. The swim and pike somersault save are the methods used in forward, inward, and multiple twisting entries. During the first foot of penetration into the water, the grasp of the hands is released and a breaststroke-like swimming action is started in a direction in front of the body line. As the hips pass through the surface, the head moves down and a pike occurs at the hips, causing the diver to roll over with the back to the bottom of the pool. As the pike is performed, the legs are held on a vertical line. The speed and force of the pike action depends on the angle of the entry and the amount of rotation of the dive. Only by practice and experience gained by performing lineups and some of the basic somersault optionals can the diver learn to match the amount of somersault saved with the various dives and entry situations. For the backward and reversed head-first entries, the swim and backward knee save are the underwater entry techniques used by skilled divers. As soon as possible after impact occurs, the grasp of the hands is released and the swimming action of the arms begins. The swim is done with the arms straight and moving laterally and forward in front of the body line. As the upper body passes through the water, the backward knee save starts as the head tilts backward and the body arches. When the knees pass through the water, they are bent and the heels pressed toward the hips, while the body increases its arch and the head lifts toward the surface. Like the forward pike save, the speed and force of the knee save required to keep the legs entering vertically are dependent on the angle of the entry and the amount of rotation of the dive. Practice and experience gained through lineups and the actual dives will allow the diver to become very adept at using these techniques to achieve excellent entries. When the proper angle of entry, body line, and flat hand grab position are combined with the underwater techniques just described, a unique, virtually splashless entry can occur called the rip, labeled as such because of the tearing sound which accompanies it. To achieve great entries, learn those lineups and practice, practice, practice. In order to teach or perform forward, backward, reverse, and inward optional dives well, it is necessary to understand how to initiate rotation, maintain proper balance, and achieve correct, safe distance. As we study each direction of rotation, let's look first at how the takeoff should be balanced, and then the relationship between this balance, the rotational forces, and the distance from the board. In forward somersaulting dives, as the diver lands on the board, the balance should be over the front of the feet. After the arms swing up to an overhead position, the body weight should be shifted to develop a forward lean before beginning the somersaulting action. The rotation is created near the end of the leg extension by a one-piece movement of the head, arms, and upper body in an upward, forward, and outward direction, which creates a piking action in the hips as the legs finish their extension and the board pushes the diver upward. This one-piece motion of the upper half of the body creates a force which causes an equal and opposite force of the feet pushing forward against the board. The board then imparts an equal and opposite force against the feet in the backward direction. This creates rotation and causes the diver to travel backward toward the board. If the correct amount of forward lean is developed before the somersault is started, the travel backward toward the board from the somersault force will result in good distance. Getting the right amount of somersault rotation for different dives depends on the amount and strength of the one-piece piking movement performed while on the board. Note in the 1 1/2 somersault, Wendy has a minimum amount of pike at takeoff, whereas in the 2 1/2 somersault, there is more pike. And more pike yet in the 3 1/2 somersault. Here is a front view of the one-piece somersaulting motion. Note that the arms are straight and parallel through this movement. Once the diver has left the board, if the dive is in tuck position, the hands move to the legs as they are drawn up to the body. The grab of the legs should be low on the shins, with the knees pulled tight to the chest and the heels to the hips. The head should be positioned with the chin in and the line of sight just over the top of the knees. If the diver drops the head lower and looks through the thighs, the dive will tend to over-rotate on entry. If the dive is in the pike position, the most effective pike is achieved by allowing the hands to move past the legs, so the elbows are at the knees and straight. Then wrap the forearms around the back of the legs. This position allows a tighter pike and a faster spin because both arms can work together rather than independently to pull the legs up tight to the chest. The head should be positioned so the line of sight is over the toes in order to have good orientation and to see the entry point when coming out of the spin. When it is time to come out of the somersault, one of the two come-out methods demonstrated in the entry discussion is used. The straight come-out shown first is utilized when there is not a lot of time to prepare for the entry. The second come-out method, the pike-out, is more effective, but can only be used when the dive finishes high enough to allow the added time it takes to execute. Since the inward spinning dives are initiated with the same motions as forward spinning dives, let's look at these dives next. To initiate the inward optionals correctly, the diver's balance must be maintained over the toes throughout the press, with no movement either forward or backward until the somersaulting motion is started. Notice how Kent is finished with the press and still has his weight steady and forward over the feet. The reason why this is necessary and why it is safe is related to the rotational forces generated in making the dive spin. As the one-piece pike throwing action is executed, the force of the upper body movement causes an equal and opposite force of the feet pushing forward on the board. The board's force then pushes backward against the feet, causing the diver to rotate and to move backward away from the board. This is why the diver can and should maintain a steady balance over the feet throughout the press. The techniques of getting into the tuck or pike position and for coming out of the spin are the same as the forward optionals. Again, to develop more spin requires a deeper and stronger piking action while on the board. To get a better look at the takeoff action, here's another view of the movements involved. You can clearly see the straight and parallel position of the arms and coordinated movement of the arms, head, and upper body, timed with the push of the legs and the recoil of the board. Watch and analyze Wendy and Kent as they put all the pieces of the board work, takeoff, somersaulting, come out, and entry together while executing the forward and inward optional dives. In the backward optional dives, to achieve correct balance, as the diver sits down into the bottom of the press and begins the upward arm swing and extension of the body, the weight must be shifted backward through the hips and over the heels. This must be done without leaning the shoulders back. The diver then reaches up and extends the body to a straight line, with the arms straight and parallel and the head between the arms. To develop backward rotation, the legs extend as the hips are lifted forcefully in an upward and forward direction, causing the body to arch at the hips, while the upper body maintains its straight line. The hip thrust and body arch creates a force, which causes the feet to push in the opposite direction, or backward, into the board. The board then creates a force forward against the feet, causing the diver to rotate and to travel toward the board. The backward lean in the takeoff, combined with the movement toward the board due to the rotational force, results in good distance. To initiate more rotation for the harder somersaulting dives, a strong hip thrust and more body arch will be needed. See the difference in the takeoff position for Wendy doing a back somersault, as compared to Kent doing a backward 2 1/2 somersault. The beginning diver should first learn to reach and extend as shown here, with the arms straight and parallel, while doing a basic back somersault in the tuck and pike position. When this skill is mastered, the diver should then learn to circle the arms laterally and slightly behind the body to the tuck or pike position, while the head and upper body push forcefully toward the legs. These movements cause a very fast acceleration of the spin. Practicing the backward somersault in the open tuck and open pike positions, as Wendy demonstrates, is the best way to learn this skill. In order to keep the head in the proper position, the diver should see the knees coming into the tuck and the feet and legs coming into the pike. Look at the movements of this technique from a front view to get a better picture of what to do. Here's the circling method performed in a backward 1 1/2 somersault in tuck position. After the circle is completed, the legs are grabbed on the shins and pulled in. As the dive reaches the 3/4 somersault position, the diver visually spots the board. This helps with orientation and is the signal to begin the come-out. Here the straight come-out method is used because there is not a lot of time to prepare for the entry. The arms and legs kick and stretch simultaneously, while the head is tilted back to a neutral position and the eyes look for the water. Wendy does a head back kick action, which is not the preferred movement because it can cause a loss of body line and control of rotation. When the circle action is used in pike dives, the hands and arms should pass the legs as they come up and secure the pike from the back of the legs after they have moved to the chest. This allows a tight pike position to be achieved. The diver sights over the toes at the 1 1/8 somersault point to spot the board and begin the come-out. Kent executes the grab and stretch come-out method, as he has plenty of time for the entry. The hands are grabbed in preparation for the entry, as the head is kept still and the body extends from the pike. Then the head and arms move backward to the entry position, as the body assumes a straight alignment. Balance in the takeoff or reverse optional dives is critical because the diver must develop spin but also achieve good safe distance from the board. As the diver lands on the board, the balance should be maintained slightly backward. After the arms swing up and the body begins to extend, distance from the board and rotation for the dive are developed. As the arms reach overhead and the body completes its extension, a powerful drive of the hips upward and forward occurs, with a resultant arch at the hip joint. This sets in motion the same sequence of forces described in the backward optionals. The body movement creates a force in the backward direction, which causes the feet to push backward against the board, and the board to push against the feet in the opposite direction as it recoils, making the diver rotate in the reverse direction and travel away from the board. This body position at takeoff is what I call the C position, to give the diver a visual image of what to do. The key point for safe distance is that this body shape is performed by moving the hips up and forward, and not by moving the shoulders back and down. As we compare the takeoff position for a reverse 1 1/2 and a reverse 2 1/2, it is apparent that the amount of arch and the strength of the hip thrust increases for the more difficult dive. After leaving the board, the circling motions into the tuck position are the same as the backward 1 1/2 somersault. At the 3/4 somersault position, the diver visually spots the water in front of the entry point and begins the come-out. Wendy again shows the straight come-out action so she can prepare for the entry quickly. The reverse somersault in open tuck and open pike are the way to practice correct execution of the circling technique, as well as getting into a tight tuck or pike position. Here is the reverse 1 1/2 somersault in pike position. Let's check the key points. Balance slightly back on landing. Hips moving forcefully upward and forward after the press, causing the C position. Circling the arms down and back and past the legs as the head and chest press toward the legs and the eyes see the legs coming into the pike. Grab the legs from behind. Spot the water over the toes at the 1 1/8 somersault position. Grab the hands for the entry as the pike opens, with the head held forward. Then open the body to a straight line as the head moves back to neutral and the arms extend to line up with the head. Use this next segment to study the skills and concepts of the back and reverse optional dives in action. Twisting dives are the most complicated and most misunderstood of all the optional dives. However, when you know the techniques of initiating and stopping twist and the relationship between the somersault and twist, there is no mystery to these dives. Regardless of what direction the twisting dive is rotating, whether forward, back, or reverse, the same principles of takeoff described for the somersault optionals apply. Let's analyze the forward twisting dives first. The best place to learn all twisting dives is on a trampoline equipped with an overhead spotting apparatus and a twisting belt. Although these dives can be learned in the pool, it is much more difficult to do so. It is necessary to perform a good forward open pike somersault before attempting any twisting actions. If this skill cannot be executed well by the diver, do not begin twisting training. To perform the forward somersault with one twist, the diver must first initiate the open pike somersault. Not until the hips pass through a vertical line at a half somersault should any twist movement occur. As the second half of the somersault is completed, the twist is started as the legs begin to open to complete the somersault. The twist is started simultaneously with the opening of the pike, not afterward, and the turn is made with the arms, shoulders, and upper body in a coordinated movement in the direction of twist, which here is to the right. The right arm moves backward and upward as the left arm is thrown out and around the chest. They finish this movement with the right arm bent and above the head and the left arm across the chest. The head should be kept still and neutral with the chin tucked in during these actions. To complete the twist, the top arm comes out in an overhead direction and laterally down to shoulder level, as the bottom arm moves directly from the chest to a lateral position. The body should remain straight throughout the opening of the arms. Let's watch again. First, the diver begins an open pike somersault. As the hips reach a vertical position at the top of the dive, the coach can assist by giving a verbal cue, twist, to the diver, who responds by moving the arms, shoulders, and upper body in the direction of twist as the legs begin opening for the landing. The arms should feel like they are thrown out and around the body to the twisting position. As the last 1/4 twist takes place, the dive is completed with the top arm moving up and out to the side as the bottom arm moves directly out to the other side. This is called squaring out. Once the diver has effectively learned these movements, it's time to move to the pool. If you do not have the advantage of a trampoline and spotting equipment, this is where you start. The diver must first perform a good, controlled, open pike somersault. When this can be done, introduce the twist by first doing the open pike somersault and then initiating the twist as shown before, but as late in the somersault as possible. Since this skill is extremely easy for Wendy to complete, she obviously over-rotates on the entry. When a full twisting somersault can be done effectively with this late twist action, then the diver can learn to twist immediately after the somersault is started, so the twist occurs in the inverted position. This twisting skill can then be used in doing a forward 1 1/2 somersault with one twist. Initiate the somersault. Then move the arms and upper body as the legs open. Notice again how the arms move out and around the body before coming into the twist position. The twist is completed by moving the top arm up and out laterally as the bottom arm comes directly out to the side and the body is kept straight. As the arms complete their opening, an open pike position is assumed to complete the square out. The beginning diver should learn the open pike technique of twisting. A more advanced diver, however, may wish to try the flying somersault action with an earlier twist if not satisfied with their execution of the open pike method. To learn this technique, a flying somersault must be performed correctly first. In executing the twist, the beginning of the flying somersault must be initiated, followed immediately by a movement of the arms, shoulders, and upper body in the direction of twist. Here is a great demonstration of how the arms should move out and around the body before coming into the twisting placement position. The square out method is the same, with the top arm coming up and out overhead to the lateral position and the bottom arm moving directly from the chest to the side. When moving to the board, the diver must first execute a good forward flying somersault start. Then add the twist, using the same method of initiating and stopping the twist as demonstrated on the trampoline. At the completion of the twist, the body is then piked to complete the square out action. Let's look at these two twisting methods from a different viewpoint to give you a better idea of how they are performed. Note that in both cases, the somersault motion is established on a true somersault axis before the twist is started. Here's a front view of the open pike start method. Now let's take a look at an overhead vantage point of the flying somersault technique with a great view of correct square out action. Both the open pike and flying somersault forward twisting methods are very effective techniques. The coach and diver